Well, everybody, I'm back. It has been a long time coming. I've been gone for a long time, and I can say that I've been on a healthy sabbatical. The Lord has been doing a lot of things with me. I left with talking with Tiffany, and now I'm back with Sowing Into You, SIY. And I'm excited about this new series, this new theme, this new podcast, because I actually get to put things into people. I was already doing that, and people were talking with me, but now it's being intentional. So I'm super excited about that. And then I'm gearing up for my second annual conference that's coming up October 24th through the 26th. And so this is actually just putting me on the front line of just like, hey, you got to get it done. So let's get it done. And so here I am sitting on the comfy couch in my home with the people I love. And so, yeah, so let's dive into it. Welcome back. All right. So today's title is Watering Your Soul, How to Stop Running on Empty. And I can definitely relate to the extent of not even understand what it's like to even be running dry and not understand what it's like to not even have water and what it's like to even be thirsty. I think sometimes I have this bottle of water sitting right here, and it's interesting because you can constantly be in proximity of water and water can be around you, but honestly, this bottle of water is like once it's empty, it's gone. And I think for a while I was consuming bottled water and not drinking from something that was ever flowing. And it's funny because I'm looking at this shirt in front of me and it says, let the water flow. And it's like, our content creator and graphic designer made it, and she's just super talented, but it just reminds me of like, God is telling you that there's a constant watering that he can give you if you just tap into him. And I think a lot of us don't do that. And so a big question just to start you off today is like, when's the last time that you've poured into you, right? Like, what does that look like for you? And I think when I think about how that looks for me, there was a season where I was doing a lot of the pouring and there wasn't much pouring back. And so I was constantly running empty. And I just felt like there wasn't much of me to give. So as I was pouring, it's like I'm giving from an empty cup.
So what does it look like to pour back into yourself?
I think what it looks like for me to pour back into myself was, number one, taking a break. I had to really step away from being in this space because I was in this space to become, I just have to be transparent. Like, I was in this space to become famous. Like, I was like, ooh, I gotta become on the top and I want to be big and I got all this stuff to tell. And the Lord was like, sit down. And he's like, have a seat. I have several seats. And I think for me, that is when I actually got even a chance to recognize that my cup had holes in it. And I think sometimes when you're ripping and running, you think that you have a cup that is like non-defective. And today I was reading a scripture and it was talking about, there's a scripture in Isaiah, I believe, and it was talking about that basically like the Lord was saying like, basically, you guys, we were doing evil because we had forsaken him because we did not believe like he was the living water. And then we had like given given ourselves over to cisterns, I think that's what you say. And it's like these man-made like well things that people pour water into that were cracked. And as I looked it up this morning and I was just kind of like meditating on it and stuff, I kind of recognized like these are the things that are like that turn into idols, people, things that just cannot hold like what God can hold. And so when I think about what I was doing, it was like I was consuming myself with the likes. So even just coming on here, going back, checking how many subscribers do I have, how many likes do I have, who watched my video, how many views do I have, that became, I would say, juice, and that was not water. And so even though I thought that was me pouring back into myself, because I was like, okay, I'm going to do it again next week, and I'm going to have another person on my podcast, and I had lots of guests on my podcast and stuff like that, I was not fulfilled. And when I took a break and I kind of sat still, I got so much out of that, just revelation about myself. I got a mirror put in front of me, and it was really interesting to actually see myself. And it's funny because when you look into water, you can see a reflection of your true self. And I believe that God really showed me. And me was like, hey, you're tired, you're worn out, you're searching for something that man can't give you, only I can give you. And those are one of those things where when you think about that story with the woman at the well, it's a Samaritan woman in John 4. That's where I see that at, where I was that woman, where I was constantly ripping and running around for other people to fill me, when God was like, hey, I'm the living water. Come to me and you will never go thirsty. And so during that time, I got in my word. I was in Bible study constantly. And then what ended up happening is the Bible studies disbanded, and then I had to like be consistent still with being in my word by myself. And then what ended up happening is I ended up starting a Bible study myself, and that then turned into a teen Bible study, and that turned into a preteen Bible study, and that turned into a kids Bible study, that turned into a couples Bible study, that then turned into a young adult Bible study, that then turned into a men's Bible study, that then turned into a ministry, a global Bible study ministry that is now called Welcome Ministries. And it has been so fulfilling. So that is how I have poured back into me, which is giving out to others. I have realized that the best way to pour into me was to get poured into by God and to serve. And so serving became something that was really important to me. And so through just even learning and teaching and helping other people gain something that they were wanting, that really I really just bought into that. And stuff. And so one of the things that it also helped was it helped me spiritually and emotionally. And because I had recognized like there was a lot of times where people were asking, I was seeing a lot of people in the Bible study, then I was seeing myself and others. So it was like, hey, a lot of people are trying to pour from an empty cup, and I'm like, no, you need to come to this Bible study so you can get poured into, so you can actually have something to pour out. And so a lot of people were showing up like this, but then telling us that they were like, I'm trying to feed my kids, my husband, my sister, my brother, my mom, and all this stuff. And I'm like, on what? There's nothing in here. And what we were able to do was, in that Bible study, we just watched God really just take this and start filling people up. And then what it ended up becoming is, even though Bible study was this bottle of water, what people started to do was they found the living water. So we were no longer the source. they found the living water. So even though they would come to our Bible study for the word, they were finding God in other places. And so they found the living water. And I think that's really what people miss is that, yes, you can find spots where you can get your thirst quenched, but where can you actually go to have it where it's ever flowing, right? Where it's always coming to you, and that you're not like, oh, I'm thirsty. What am I going to do? And stuff. And so those are the things that I think when I think about being poured into. Like you just said, like water evaporates. Does water evaporate? And water does evaporate. So I think when you think about when people get into heated situations, sometimes, and I can just give you an example, like there's a lot of people that will go to church on Sunday and this is what they look like, right? And they're like, oh, I got poured into. Yeah, you know, I got the Lord and stuff like that. But then what happens is stress, irritation, work, kids, overwhelmed, and as this starts to boil, this evaporates. So if I was to put this on a boiling eye, there would be no more water in here. I would become empty. And so I think sometimes people don't realize as things heat up in our lives, the water that you have can go away. And so like when Jesus told that woman at the well, like, come to me and you'll never go thirsty, I think people sometimes read that and they're like, oh, all I need to do is come get one drink. No, you need to keep drinking. Like this isn't ever like water. Come get your water today. It's like the scripture, give us this day our daily bread. It's an everyday thing. Yeah. And I believe like people don't understand that because they think like, oh, I'm just going to go to church on Sunday, or I'm going to just read my Bible in the morning. And they think that's enough. And it's like, well, if you think that's enough, I just challenge you just to eat once a day, right? And I don't want you to eat enough to fill yourself. I just want you to eat a snack, a little meal, right? I don't want you to eat yourself to where you're full. I want you just to eat enough where it's just like, okay, I'm on the run, and because that's how some of us treat God. And then you're wondering, like, why am I not growing? Well, you're not being watered. You know what I'm saying? And so when you think about plants and all these things, it's like, why are these things not growing? Why am I not growing in my life? You can be around friends. And it's funny because you could be in a group of friends and all of you be growing differently, but look at the source of water that each of you get. And some of you are really committed to certain things and some of you are not. And you can see that will determine the amount of growth that person has, right? And we think also that the growth is just going to the Bible. No, it's also accountability, right? And it's not just accountability, it's obedience. It's like, after I read, will I do, you know? And I believe it's James where it's like, in James, don't just be hearers of the word, be doers of the word. And so when God tells you to do something, that you also, you don't just hear it, you also do it. And I believe that's a lot that has to do with water. When I drink the water, could you imagine if I drank the water and it just stayed in my throat?
Right.
And then it didn't go nowhere. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, I need you to go down in my body and do your thing and stuff. And I believe a lot of us can do that with things, and not really make it look like where it needs to nourish us. And so watering is super important. So when I think about what does it mean to let God be my source instead of anything else, I think about when I plug something up in the wall. I remember there was a time where my daughter, and bless her heart, she is 13 now, but I have a video of her laying on the floor and she's got the little power surcharger thing that you have, the power strip. and she's got her phone charger plugged in, and she's on the phone. She's got the cord, and she's on the phone, and she's playing with it on her iPad. And I'm like, I look down, I'm like, what are you doing? I said, your iPad's about to die. She's like, no, it's not, it's charging. And I said, no, it's not. And she's like, yes, it is. It's plugged up into the plug. And I was like, and she's laying in the middle of the floor, guys. So she's laying in the middle of the floor, but she believes that because it's plugged up to the power strip, that there's power coming from that, but the power strip is not plugged into the wall. And she's nowhere near the wall. So she's not even in proximity of the wall. She's in the middle of the floor. But yet in her mind, she thinks that there is power. And in her mind, even though she does not see the green light that says charging, in her mind, she's like, it's plugged up. It could be on. And I believe there's a lot of us that think that way, right? Where you're in the middle of something and God knows my heart. The Lord knows my heart. Yeah, well, just because the Lord knows your heart doesn't mean he's in agreement with it, right? It came up on my thing, and Jesus wept, that's my scripture of the day, or something like that. And it's like, right? And I realize that I have to be plugged in with God, because others cannot give me anything. They're not my source, right? They do not have anything that they can give me, because they need to be plugged into something. And when I recognized that, was being caught up in situations where I'm watching everybody's battery die, and yet we all having to go plug up into the wall, right? Every single one of us having to go to the same thing to get energy, right? Yet nobody wanting to recognize that's what we need to do here. And that's something that you kind of have an aha moment spiritually, where you're like, okay, if this is the creator and he is here and he's the one that made me, I'm going to have to plug into him because he made me. And some of us like to say the universe. Well, he made the universe. So me plugging into the universe, still the universe has to plug into him. It's just you trying to not give honor and reverence to the person that actually created you. And it reminds me of just like, even when you when you need your phone fixed, and sometimes you can go into like T-Mobile or Sprint or whatever, and they're like, we don't fix screens, you got to go to this place, or they'll send you to somebody else. And it's like, but most of the time they send you back to the manufacturer. And so it's like, that's who you have to go back to. The manufacturer is who is going to source you good energy, and get you aligned back to where you need to go. And so that's where my source comes from. And I hope that anybody that I'm speaking to and that's listening to this knows that that's where their source comes to. Now, if you want to get in these comments and argue with me, you'll be arguing with yourself. But that's not my business. So like Tabitha Brown says, no, don't go ruining somebody else's day. Go find you somebody's business, right? And be gone. But I feel like one of the things that I realized that for me, that I had to recognize that there was a point in time prior to me coming back, was running on empty was a norm for me. And a lot of times you think, oh, I need more sleep. Oh, I just need a break. Oh, I just need a vacation. And that did not give me rest. And what I had to find was I needed to find rest in the Lord. And the Lord was who gave me that type of refill. That's who recharged my battery. And it wasn't until I got into the Bible study, I got into community of people actually being like, girl, me too. Because to be honest with you, when I was around other people that did not necessarily see it that way, what I found was it was easy to blame it on anything else. It was easy to blame it on your man, your mom, your kids, your job, the cosmos, being a Pisces. Oh, that drives me nuts. Like, girl, what month were you born in? Oh, that you must be. Okay, no, you just act like that because you act like that, right? All right, crystals, sage, like all these things that you wanted to blame stuff on, or even say that you were drawing things from, when if you threw that stuff in the fire, what was it gonna do? Nothing, right? It still had the same value that it had pre you even trying to use it, which was you paid for it. That was it, right? And so for me, I had to realize that the only value that I had was being the truth in the word that I was actually reading. And so it was the history and me actually seeing like, hey, this person went through this person went through this person went through this sounds familiar. So for me, as I was going through those things, I started to recognize like empty is something that I'm finding myself as I need to find another definition for this, because the definition that culture is giving me is not the definition that I'm experiencing. And fullness is, I need a kingdom definition of fullness, because I don't want culture's definition of fullness.
That's so good, because I think where we can get messed up at is, like you said, hey, today I'm going to rest, and then the next day you feel great. So then you feel like my cup is full, I can go back and do what I want to do, I've went on my vacation, and then it only lasts for maybe a week. And you're like, yeah, that wasn't a long enough break. So how do you discern if I'm only halfway full, or like, okay, now I can go, my cup is overflowing? Like, what is that feeling like?
I think the way to discern your cup being, I think the way to discern to gauge like your gas tank is, number one, I think it's Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Do not lean on your own understanding, first of all. The Bible also says, do not trust your own heart. It's deceitful, right? And so there's so many things. And then the Bible also talks about, like, if any of you lack wisdom, ask me and I give it generously. So there are many times where I have felt like, oh, I feel great. And then I'll be like, Lord, should I do that? And he's like, you're going to lay down for a little bit longer. And I'm like, am I? And he's like, yeah, right? And that may not be my first choice, right? That may not be what I want to do, but it's like, in that Proverbs 3, 5 through 6, it's like, do not lean on your own understanding, but submit all your ways to me, and I will make your path straight. Like, I don't want crooked paths, right? So when I'm doing that, the way I'm discerning is allowing God to guide me, right? The steps of a righteous man are ordered by the Lord. So if I can even be just a little bit off on what that looks like for me, I'm like, why won't I just ask God? Like, what does that look like for me, right? But then also knowing, like, I know when I've poured a lot. So, like, if I've been doing something all weekend, we just got back from, we had business back-to-back weekends. So we actually had to travel 2 weekends in a row. And then when we got back, I just happened to get sick. And I was out the whole week, which everybody was kind of like shocked. But then my husband said something to me. He's like, you know, you haven't been sick in a long time. And it was like, to me, it was like kind of like God's way to, like, yeah, you need to sit down. Like, the past few months, you've been ripping and running. And even though I've been on sabbatical from one company that I run, it was like I've been doing a lot of other stuff with these other companies that I run. And so I just felt like in this moment, God is saying, like, trusting him and saying, hey, though you may think that you're on full, you're actually running out of gas. And transparent moment, when I went on sabbatical from Bible study, I knew I was on empty. I knew I was on empty because my patience was low. Like, I was like, oh. And like, I'm drumming up. Like, when they say leaders in ministry, pastors and just top leaders in ministry and stuff like that, do I have a pastoral gift? Yes. So am I pastoring people? Yes. But what they don't tell you is what all that entails, how tiring it can be, how people don't listen, but just how leading people is just tiring. And so when you think about Elijah, after he kills all them prophets and stuff, and then he's hiding, and God's like, what are you doing? And then he runs, and he's like, goes to sleep, and he's like, just kill me, and and all this stuff. And then God's like, you need to eat. You need to sleep. It's like God sometimes has to tell you those things because you don't gauge yourself well. So I'm not going to say that I'm always the best person to actually gauge myself for that. And I would say it's not always best to always trust yourself in that, because sometimes you'll just push yourself to the brink of perfection or excellence. And so it's good to have people around you also that can say, hey, I think it's time for you to take a break and stuff. So for me, it's God, it's my community and my tribe, for me to know, like, here's when I need to be poured into and I'm running on empty, and this is not good functioning for me. So if I'm down this low, I probably need to sit down. And a good example is when we did the Speak Up conference. We did not sleep because we had a whole bunch of stuff to do, a lot of stuff. Like, when I tell you, everything that could possibly go wrong went wrong, but the spirit of joy was in us. And then we had to get up 3 hours later and work, I think almost 12 hours. 12 hours nonstop, and I knew it was nothing but the fuel of the Lord with all of us. And I mean, after that, we were out. You know what I'm saying? And I remember coming back, we took a break, and then I think after my daughter graduated, I took 2 weeks off just from that. And so I think sometimes it's just knowing what you're pouring out to actually know. I think I'm now good at measuring the amount of pour out, to know if I poured that much out, then I know I need to be refilled. It's funny because for you love to journal. I love to rest.
Period.
I think it's funny because I live in a house with 6 people, and I have a pretty nice size house. But there's sometimes people don't see me in this house. And so people are like, I haven't seen Tiffany in 2 days and stuff. And it's just because I'm really mindful about my rest. And then during my rest, I worship. And so, because I think people think worship is singing, and it's not. And so in my rest, that's my alone time with God. That's my commune with God. And so those are the things that I do to refill my soul. So I would ask my listeners, what do you do to refill your soul? Do you journal? Do you worship? Do you rest? Is it friendship? Share your answer and explain why, and let us know. But you know what? In this season, I actually just saw this clip, and it said that every 7 years, there's a study that every 7 years women actually trade in half of their friends. And I thought that was very interesting. And it's because they're growing. And a lot of people will get irritated about that because they're like, oh, you can't keep nobody, no new friends. I used to be like that. I accept new friends. And trust me, because if you're not growing as me, we cannot hang. But I have a really great community right now. And I have some really great best friends. And I would say they are probably one of the best gifts that God has given me. I'm not going to name names because I don't want anybody to be like, well, you didn't name me. But they definitely know who they are. I mean, from the constant laughter and not letting people go to bed, from just constant deep reflection, praying for each other. Like, I can call a friend and it's like, confess something to them, and then we can talk about it, and then like go into prayer about it, instead of like egging me on, or basically saying they don't have anything for me. I would say also my husband. I would say I have a really amazing husband, and I think that is just a great factor. And then I would honestly, I have some amazing mentors. I think God really just leveled me up with my amazing mentors that believe I can do anything, which is kind of blows my mind sometimes right now. And so, yeah, I mean, to me, I don't have water bottles. I believe I have those bottles that you get at the store when you're filling up your water jugs. Because I'm constantly, like, I'm being doused with overflowing water, and God is just doing something amazing. Now, I will say, in a season, now you have to actually understand, like, who fills you and what drains you. And I believe, like, there was a season where I didn't realize that there were certain friends, because of what was happening in their life, they were draining me. But then I also didn't realize that there was a certain season, because of what was going on with me, I was draining people.
So who fit?
And I believe that sometimes you have to recognize if you also are a drainer. And that's something I have to be honest about. Like, I have not always been a filler-upper. I've also been a drainer, just because of my outlook on life, my perception on life, and my relationship with Jesus may have not been that great. So I could have been not a asset to people. And so there may be people out there that be like, well, she drained me. And that could be true for them in that season. And so you have to also recognize, like, who is a drainer and who is a pourer. All right, sis. So maybe one of the reasons that you feel dry, unwatered, is because you stopped receiving rain. Now, if anyone knows, I come from the rainy state of Washington. I now live in Houston, where it's hot all the time. But girl, when it rains here, them raindrops is huge. I mean, you could be outside for 2 seconds and you are drenched. But there are people that prevent themselves from getting watered and even receiving rain. And so I know people that buy plants that don't water them. And then ask why, and then say, I'm a horrible plant owner. No, you just don't water your plants. Like, you forget about them. But it makes me ask you the question where, what about you makes you not want to receive something? What about you is blocking things? Is it pride? Is it envy? Is it jealousy? Is it disobedience? Is it the inability just to want to be accountable to things and others? And I just ask you to open up your eyes and look at yourself this week and see, is it you, right? Because water is available. We definitely can see water is available. You can buy it at the store. You can buy it around. Girl, it's on the side of the house. You can get it. We used to drink out off the faucet, right? But if you're refusing to drink, if you're refusing to receive water, and to be honest with you, even just to be funny, some of you are like, I don't drink tap water, I only drink sparkling, I only drink. Is it because of your preference? Is your preference blocking you from getting what you need? And sometimes our preference is really what we need. And so just a couple things that you should ask yourself this week is my pride blocking me? Do I need to humble myself? Is my inability to see clearly blocking me? And do I need someone to hold me accountable to the things God is asking me to do? You don't have to run empty. God has an overflowing running water for you, right? So this week I just ask that you challenge yourself just to write down the things that need to be watered in your life. And if you're in Houston and you want to join us October 24th through the 26th, you should go to our website at welcomeministries.org, and there is a link under there and it says conferences, and sign up. You can either stay the night with us and enjoy, or you can sign up for a day pass, but definitely join us for the Is It You conference, Tending to Your Garden conference, because we would love to have you. Definitely Is It You, sis.